Tonight on the Worldview Report, another shooting at a church took place on Sunday, and this time there were casualties. Germany's chancellor acknowledges that diplomatic efforts to end the Russia-Ukraine war have failed, and he pledges to support Kiev through all military means possible. This at a time when President Trump has changed his mind and gone back to funding Ukraine's war effort, while North Korea has strengthened its military backing of Russia. The Department of Justice has dropped charges against Dr. Kirk Moore. He's a Utah surgeon who was indicted in 2023 for allegedly issuing fake COVID-19 vaccination cards and destroying government-provided vaccines. And a rare earth mining company announces that Uncle Sam has become its biggest shareholder. All these stories and more as the Worldview Report begins right now.
This is Worldview Report with host Brandon House. Whether it is news from the nation's capital or your state capital, from the classroom to the boardroom, from national security to national and local news that impacts you and your family, Worldview Report is your trusted source for vital and uncensored news. And now, here is Brandon House.
Good evening and welcome to the Worldview Report. Leading off tonight, there's been another church shooting, this time in Kentucky. A gunman, he opened fire on Sunday at a Baptist church in Lexington, Kentucky, sending panicked church members running for cover. Two women were tragically shot and killed inside the church by the man who fled after allegedly shooting and wounding a state trooper at another location. That's what officials told ABC News. The suspect allegedly shot a Kentucky State Police trooper near Bluegrass Airport in Lexington and then fled to the Richmond Road Baptist Church where he shot 4 people before police shot and killed him. That's what officials said at a Lexington Police Department press conference late Sunday afternoon. As of Monday morning, the suspect still had not been identified by authorities. The 2 women killed were ages 72 and 32. The other 2 surviving victims, both male, were taken to the hospital for treatment. One of them is in critical condition, while the other is stable, according to officials. Lexington Police Chief Lawrence Weathers said during the press conference, quote, "Something like this has a huge impact on our community," end quote. The shooting occurred at about 11:36 a.m. on Sunday when a suspect shot and wounded a trooper and then, as I said, fled the scene after carjacking a vehicle. That's what, again, Kentucky State Police have said in their statement. The trooper wounded in the shooting is also receiving medical attention, according to the agencies, with the Lexington Police Department statement saying that the trooper is in stable condition at a local hospital. Officials said they believe the suspect had a connection to individuals at the church. The motive behind the shooting remains unclear, but officials said he had a history of mental health issues. The shooting comes just 3 weeks after a gunman opened fire on June 22nd at the Crosspoint Community Church in Wayne, Michigan. That was during a service, but he was shot and killed by an armed security guard, preventing, I think, a larger tragedy. The shooter in that attack was identified as Brian Anthony Browning and was reportedly also suffering from a mental health crisis. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz spoke to Parliament on July 9th, stating that diplomatic means for resolving the Russia-Ukraine war, quote, have been exhausted, end quote, and his government is committed to assisting the Kiev regime militarily. The statement comes on the heels of the failed Russia-Ukraine peace talks in Istanbul, Turkey. According to The Guardian, Merz went on to say, quote, when a criminal regime openly questions another country's right to exist with military force and sets out to destroy the political order of freedom on the entire European continent, the federal government I lead will do everything in its power to prevent this, end quote. Comments by Merz follow Vladimir Putin confirming his readiness for a third round of peace talks, in which he suggested that both countries discuss details of their peace memorandums, which remain absolutely opposite. Putin hopes that these talks could bring the nations closer to finding agreeable terms. Ukrainian Defense Minister Restom Umerov, well, he hopes that the next round of talks will be a direct meeting between Zelensky and Putin, who have notably been absent in the previous talks, preferring to send lower-level officials. Turkish President Erdogan, he's working toward bringing Zelensky and Putin together, with President Donald Trump potentially joining the talks, which he has affirmed his openness toward attending. Putin said on June 27th that it was quite possible that a meeting could take place between himself and Trump. Merz, well, he appears to be escalating tensions while diplomatic channels remain open. Merz went on to condemn members of his parliament, affirming his commitment to Ukraine, quote, even against the pressure of the political left and the pro-Russian right in this House, end quote. German support for Ukraine is critical for their war effort, as the United States has shifted its focus to its own military readiness, pausing arms shipment to Ukraine. But that apparently has now been reversed as of this morning. President Trump in the Oval Office stating that he will indeed rearm Ukraine. Watch this.
We are very unhappy, I am, with Russia, but we'll discuss that maybe a different day. But we're very, very unhappy with them, and we're going to be doing very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. Tariffs at about 100%. You'd call them secondary tariffs. You know what that means. But today we're going to talk about something else. And as you know, we've spent $350 billion approximately on this war with Russia and Ukraine, and would like to see it end. It wasn't my war, it was Biden's war. It's not my war. I'm trying to get you out of it. And we want to see it end. And I'm disappointed in President Putin because I thought we would have had a deal 2 months ago, but it doesn't seem to get there. But we've made a deal today where we are going to be sending them weapons and they're going to be paying for them. The United States will not be having any payment made. We're not buying it, but we will manufacture it and they're going to be paying for it.
So President Trump has ordered the resumption of some supplies, especially Patriot interceptors that Ukraine needs against increased missile attacks from Russia. Alternative for Deutschland, or the AfD party, their leader Alice Weidel attacked Merz for breaking election promises while posturing abroad and leaving the reins of domestic politics to his party's junior coalition partner, the Social Democrats. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov accused Germany of deepening its involvement in the conflict, warning the country risks repeating historical mistakes leading to its own downfall. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov also condemned Germany's actions, accusing Berlin of competing with France to escalate the war. We have reports that North Korea is deepening its military alliance with Russia and proving its mettle as an indispensable partner in Russia's war with Ukraine. United 24 Media, citing a report by Yonhap News Agency on July 13th, well, they claim there's documentation that South Korea's Defense Intelligence Agency has announced on July 13th that North Korea has supplied more than 12 million 152 millimeter artillery shells to Moscow and deployed thousands of military personnel to support Russia's war with Ukraine. South Korea's Defense Intelligence Agency reports that since October of 2024, North Korea has shipped about 28,000 containers filled with conventional weapons and ammunition to Russia. Based on standard load calculations, these shipments amount to more than 12 million rounds of 152 millimeter artillery shells, which is a key caliber for Russian howitzers and gun howitzers. In parallel, the DIA, they estimate that North Korea has dispatched approximately 13,000 military personnel to Russian territory, including frontline combat troops. During July and August, an additional 6,000 combat engineers and sappers are expected to arrive in the Kursk region to assist with mine clearance and fortification works. That's according to the DIA report. These deliveries follow the Strategic Partnership Treaty signed by Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin back in June of 2024. That agreement formalized a mutual defense pact and expanded bilateral military cooperation. Attorney General Pam Bondi announced on Saturday that the Department of Justice has dropped charges against Dr. Kirk Moore. He's a Utah plastic surgeon that was indicted in 2023 for allegedly issuing fake COVID-19 vaccination cards and destroying government-provided vaccines. Pam Bondi posted on X, quote, "At my direction, the Justice Department has dismissed charges against Dr. Kirk Moore. Dr. Moore gave his patients a choice when the federal government refused to do so. He did not deserve the years in prison he was facing. It ends today," end quote. Well, the move comes after certain conservative media, including this network, brought attention to the case. And then Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene just last week called for the charges to be dismissed. Greene wrote on Tuesday, quote, "This man is a hero, not a criminal. The charges were filed under Biden's DOJ, not Trump. The COVID vaccine kills and injures people. But this brave doctor, who is a veteran, by the way, is being prosecuted for helping people avoid tyrannical vaccine mandates under Democrats," end quote. In April, Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy Jr. weighed in as well, declaring on X, quote, "Dr. Moore deserves a medal for his courage and his commitment to healing," end quote. Dr. Moore was indicted in January of 2023 by a federal grand jury in Salt Lake City, Utah, along with 3 other co-defendants. Prosecutors accused Dr. Moore and others of running a scheme to falsify over 1,900 CDC vaccination cards in exchange for cash payments or charitable donations, while destroying more than $28,000 worth of COVID vaccines and allegedly injecting minors with saline at the request of their parents. Federal officials at the time said the scheme undermined public trust and was motivated by personal profit. Moore was charged with conspiracy to defraud the United States, conversion of government property, and related crimes. We'll be right back after this break.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
Welcome back from the break. Thanks again for being with us tonight and for remembering that we are brought to you by you. And one way you can support us is simply through our foundation, worldviewfoundation.com. Our foundation helps us push out free programming. And by the way, we now have a brand new channel, a history channel and a Bible prophecy channel. So in addition to this stream, worldviewtube.com, 24/7 news, information, all the great programming, we now have worldviewtube.com/history. That's a 24/7 history channel where we are carrying a lot of our programs from years gone by and new programs we're producing. Like the brand new documentary on the attempted assassination of Ronald Reagan back in 1989. We have a brand new one coming out on Robert E. Lee and Arlington House. So if you appreciate all that, there you go. Now we have another channel running, History Channel, worldviewtube.com/history. Oh, but wait a minute. We have a third channel to announce today. That's also free. worldviewtube.com/prophecy. It is a 24/7 Bible prophecy channel. We have so many Bible prophecy presentations by myself, Dr. Andy Woods, Rob Lindstedt, the late Ed Heinzen, the late Dr. John Whitcomb, the late Dr. Jimmy D. Young. We have so many wonderful Bible prophecy programs. And guess what? they're still current because the grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of God will stand forever. So now we have a 24/7 Bible prophecy channel at worldviewtube.com/prophecy, worldviewtube.com/prophecy. All free, brought to you in part by our foundation. We are a listener-supported network. So if you appreciate what we're doing, we appreciate your support. WorldviewFoundation.com, WorldviewFoundation.com. You'll also find our mailing address there if you prefer to support us through the mail, and you'll find our phone number if you prefer to make a contribution over the phone. WorldviewFoundation.com. Less than 1 year ago, then candidate Donald Trump vowed to release the Jeffrey Epstein client list of friends and associates who violated more than 1,000 sex trafficked victims. That's at least what we're told. Many of them underage children and teens. Well, here is Trump on the Lex Friedman podcast back in September of 2024 saying he would be inclined to release the Epstein client list if elected president for a second time. Watch this.
People that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah. It's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be...
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. Now, Kennedy's interesting because it's so many years ago. You know, they do that for danger, too, because, you know, endangers certain people, et cetera, et cetera. So Kennedy is very different from the Epstein thing. But, yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
Well, now his FBI just came out and said there is nothing worth seeing. No list, no blackmailing of powerful people, and Epstein definitely killed himself in prison. Well, now President Trump, for some reason, he just wants the whole thing apparently to go away. Last week, President Trump scolded a reporter, you remember that, for asking about Epstein, saying, quote, "Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years," end quote. Watch this.
Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former Labor Secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Costa, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of the stabbing?
Yeah, sure. If I
could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Well, on Saturday, President Trump wrote in a lengthy Truth Social post, quote, "What's going on with my boys, and in some cases gals? They're all going after Attorney General Pam Bondi, who is doing a fantastic job. We're on one team, MAGA, and I don't like what's happening. We have a perfect administration, the talk of the world, and selfish people are trying to hurt it. All over a guy who never dies, Jeffrey Epstein. For years, it's Epstein, over and over again," end quote. Well, why do people want to find out which rich and powerful men were, well, apparently gratifying themselves with children provided by Epstein? And what did President Trump mean when he said Epstein never dies? Then President Trump attempted to discredit the Epstein files, equating it to the Steele dossier. President Trump said the FBI should focus on voter fraud and arresting, quote, thugs and criminals instead of spending month after month looking at nothing but the same old radical left inspired documents on Jeffrey Epstein, end quote. And then he ended the post by saying this, quote, "1 year ago, our country was dead, but now it's the hottest country anywhere in the world. Let's keep it that way and not waste time and energy on Jeffrey Epstein, somebody that nobody cares about," end quote. And yet, his base cares. That's obvious. It's obvious if you read the blowback from his recent attempts to memory hole this whole story. As Chris Hedges notes, the list of those who were in Epstein's orbit, well, it's a who's who of the rich and famous. And of course, we're told they include not only Trump, but Bill Clinton, who allegedly took a trip to Thailand with Epstein, Prince Andrew, Bill Gates, and reportedly hedge fund billionaire Glenn Dubin, and former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson. Supposedly, reportedly, former Secretary of the Treasury and former president of Harvard University, Larry Summers. And then I guess cognitive psychologist and author Steven Pinker. I mean, the list goes on and on. Is it really worth listing all of them? Is any of this true? I don't know. But as Zero Hedge notes, Trump's latest demands for his supporters to forget about the Epstein saga, well, it's backfired. Some, they're burning their MAGA hats and making a show of it online. Watch this.
We're not going to play with these anymore. MAGA hats are off. America First hats are on. Burn, baby, burn. And this is a great representation of what's left of MAGA.
Well, in other news, a rare earth mining company called MP Materials has announced that the U.S. Department of Defense is set to become its largest shareholder. That's after finalizing an agreement to purchase $400 million of the company's preferred stock. In a July 10th press release, MP Materials confirmed it has, quote, entered into a transformational public-private partnership, end quote, with the Department of Defense to, quote, drastically accelerate the build-out of an end-to-end U.S. rare earth magnet supply chain and reduce foreign dependency, end quote. MP Materials founder and CEO James Litinsky, he said, quote, this initiative marks a decisive action by the Trump administration to accelerate American supply chain independence. We are proud to enter into this transformational public-private partnership and are deeply grateful to President Trump, our partners at the Pentagon, and our employees, customers, and stakeholders for their unwavering support and dedication, end quote. Well, according to CNBC News, MP Materials owns the only rare earth mine that's currently operational in the United States. Outlet noted that its rare earth mine is in Mount Pass, California. The Rare Earth Mine Company, well, they announced that with the Defense Department's new initiative, this investment in MP Materials, it will result in the construction of a second domestic magnet manufacturing facility that will be used for commercial and defense customers. MP Materials explained that rare earth magnets are, quote, one of the most strategically important components in advanced technology systems, end quote, for both commercial and defense use. The United States, well, they're currently almost completely reliant on foreign sources, including China, for rare earth magnets. Well, that's not a good idea. Well, now it is time for our nightly Worldview Report commentary. Zero Hedge reports that the 17th BRICS Summit last week in Brazil marked a significant step forward for the organization amid the accelerating transformation of the global political and economic landscape. Russia, they played an active role in the summit's direction as President Vladimir Putin addressed the plenary session via video link. In his remarks, the Russian leader offered a comprehensive analysis of current global trends, emphasizing that the liberal model of globalization is losing viability as the center of economic and political activity shifts decisively toward the global south, which consists of developing countries with rising demographic, resource, and technological potential. The Rio Summit, well, it reaffirmed BRICS' growing political weight and its ambition to become a key force in the shaping of emerging multipolar order. A total of 126 joint commitments were adopted, spanning critical areas such as global governance reform, the restructuring of international financial institutions, healthcare, climate initiatives, artificial intelligence, and the future of what they call sustainable development. Beyond the formal language, the summit, well, it revealed a deeper shift. The bloc, they are increasingly positioning themselves as a cohesive international actor that's capable, quite frankly, of proposing new frameworks for economic integration, political solidarity, and global coordination. In other words, BRICS, it's becoming the alternative world order for countries no longer interested in participating in the U.S.-led post-World War II based order. BRICS, it's coming for the U.S. dollar, and it's not backing off just because President Trump threatened to slap them with new tariffs. The problem is not going to be solved that easily. It has a lot of work to do. But BRICS, it's a serious effort, and one that President Trump, well, would be wise not to take lightly. These are times that call for serious diplomacy and statecraft, starting with an acknowledgement of changing economic realities. We are still the best place in the world for business, and President Trump can leverage that in a positive way. Minus the threats to bomb and sanction countries looking to reassess their options in what's really a fast-changing environment. You know, as the old saying says, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. So, for starters, America cannot afford to continue being the world's policeman. The debt we've run up in that role, well, it's unsustainable. Simply issuing threats, well, in my opinion, it's only going to accelerate the BRICS process of de-dollarization and economic ruin for America. I mean, after all, why would you give any power to a country making the threats we're making? You wouldn't. Whether it's sanctions or tariffs, this is why you're going to start seeing them break away with de-dollarization. So it's well past time to get our debt under control and get back to the dollar, backing it with physical assets. And by the way, whatever happened to President Trump's plan to reveal the status of America's gold reserves at Fort Knox? It was all over the news back in March, remember that? And then suddenly, no one's talking about it. A bankrupt empire? Well, it would be a dangerous empire. And I hope that's not where we're heading. What do you think? That does it for this edition of the Worldview Report. As always, we thank you for tuning in, and we thank you for supporting the program so we can continue to put it together day in and day out and push it out as a free education, public service, and ministry broadcast to everyone. We don't want to put it all behind a paywall. We want everyone to be able to appreciate it, learn from it, benefit from it. It's a public service, and we need your support. WorldviewFoundation.com. Don't forget about our Sunday night church service. Last night I was teaching on Revelation chapter 17. I finished that up, and now we're on to Revelation chapter 18. You can watch it if you didn't catch our church service last night at 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. You can watch it now at WorldviewTube.com or on demand later, which is, like when you have time to watch it. All right, so you can stay right here and keep watching this and then watch that later. WorldviewTube.com. All right. We appreciate your support so it all can continue by going to WorldviewFoundation.com right now, if you would. WorldviewFoundation.com. Make a contribution of any size, and again, you'll find our mailing address there if you prefer to support us through the mail. So next time, I'm Brandon House. May God save America. Take care.